Right now at noon, the happiest quarterback in Super Bowl 57 makes it to the happiest place on earth.
We've still got some showers out there, even a couple of rumbles of thunder. This is on its way out. There's a little bit more on the way in. We'll break it all down coming up.
Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley announces her candidacy for president, becoming the first Republican to officially challenge former President Donald Trump.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
As Kansas City preps for its second Super Bowl victory parade in 4 years, the team eagerly awaits the return of its star quarterback. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. The Kansas City Chiefs returned home yesterday, just a day after being crowned the new Super Bowl champions. But Patrick Mahomes was not with the team. That's because he headed west instead, as Disneyland welcomed the Chiefs quarterback after his MVP performance at Super Bowl 57 on Sunday. Mahomes snagged his second regular season MVP and Super Bowl MVP in the 38-35 win over the Philadelphia Eagles. He passed for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, and had another 44 rushing yards with no turnovers, all on a high ankle sprain. The Showtime QB became the 4th quarterback in league history to win 2 Super Bowls and 2 regular season MVPs, joining Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana. Well, Mahomes is expected to return in time for tomorrow's victory parade and this year's celebration, just 3 years after Kansas City's last massive Super Bowl parade. In February of 2020, hundreds of thousands of people gathered in KC for the parade following Super Bowl 54. City leaders have released the schedule and route for this year's celebration. Now, weather permitting, the parade will start at noon tomorrow at 6th Street and Grand Boulevard. It'll work its way down Grand and then head west at Union Station. The rally at Union Station is estimated to begin around 1:45 p.m. You can find this information, including the route map, on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, the Kansas governor predicted the Chiefs win even before the NFL season started. Yesterday, Governor Laura Kelly announced she will donate her Super Bowl sports bet winnings of $165, including the original $15 she wagered. She's giving it to the 15 and Mahomes Foundation, Patrick Mahomes' nonprofit dedicated to improving the lives of children. The governor placed the bet the week before the season started, the first bet placed in Kansas after the state legalized sports betting this past summer. Well, you can bet it's wet outside. Chris Warner joins us with a first look at the forecast.
Yeah, it certainly is, as rain continues to fall for some of us. But take a look at our camera at 7th and Rangeline. There's some clearing out to the west. It's going to eventually stop for most of us here in the next, half hour to an hour. 20th and Rangeline, MoDOT camera there. Roads are wet. Rain is still falling in some parts of the area. You can see it here on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. And there's that clearing taking place out to the west. But this clearing could have an impact on what happens here in the next about 2 to 3 hours. We also have wind advisories. So as I mentioned this morning, we have multiple National Weather Service offices that cover our region. So for Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and southwest Missouri, this wind advisory runs through 3 a.m. Northeast Oklahoma, this runs through midnight. And for the rest of southeast Kansas, it runs until 6 this evening. The point is it's going to be windy. Now, with the clearing, we could have some strong to low-grade severe thunderstorms develop across portions of southeast Kansas. Now, you see all severe threats still highlighted on here. Now, the overall threat is relatively low, but it's not zero, so it's something we need to keep an eye on. Yesterday made it up to 62 after starting at 47, just shy of what our average high should be, but also a ways off from any records. And as we stand right now, we're looking all right. 47 Iola, 52 Miami, 50 Joplin, 48 Neosho, and 49 in Carthage. And a quick look at what we're tracking. A wind advisory for those wind gusts, 40 to 50 miles an hour. Keeping an eye on thunderstorm redevelopment in southeast Kansas. And we've got a big temperature drop heading into Wednesday. We'll break down all the details here in a few minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Add another high-profile name to the list of Republicans running for president in 2024. And former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador Nikki Haley made it official this morning. She's running for president in 2024. Nicole D'Antonio has the story from Washington, D.C.
And My parents reminded
Nikki
me.
Haley made it official this morning.
I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
In a video posted on Twitter, the former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador talked about her childhood in South Carolina and how she was blessed to be an American. She also called President Biden's record abysmal and said the Washington establishment is failing Americans.
It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose.
The 51-year-old daughter of Indian immigrants is now the first Republican to officially challenge former President Donald Trump for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Trump declared his candidacy in November, and several other Republicans are expected to eventually join the race, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. President Biden says he plans to seek re-election in 2024. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, the White House.
Haley said 2 years ago that she would not challenge her former boss in 2024. But she changed her mind in recent months, citing, among other things, the country's economic troubles and the need for generational change, a nod to the 76-year-old former president's age. Investigators have identified the suspected gunman in the deadly Michigan State University shooting as 43-year-old Anthony McRae. The 3 students were killed and another 5 were taken to the hospital last night with life-threatening injuries. Police say the shooter later took his own life. Investigators say he had no apparent connection to the school, and a tip led police to him. And that's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon, looking to score love this Valentine's Day? Well, before you start looking online, a little friendly advice from the FBI. And later, we're making Hearty cheese biscuits in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. FBI issued a strong warning for daters this Valentine's Day. Beware of online romance scammers looking for their next victim. As Jake Reiner shows us, they're not just trying to take your money.
Due to the nature of the holiday, we often see an uptick in these types of crimes at this time of year.
Valentine's Day advice from the FBI. They're warning those looking to find true love to help them from becoming the victim of a true scam, says FBI Supervisory Special Agent Andrew Innocenti.
It's highly lucrative.
How lucrative? These romance scams where people create fake profiles and trick others into giving them money takes catfishing to a whole new level. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, last year 19,000 victims nationwide were swindled for a combined total of $700 million.
It is one of the highest reported types of cyber fraud that we see.
And in the greater Los Angeles area last year, 1,200 victims were squeezed for $122 million.
We're one of the top regions for both the number of victims of romance scams as well as the dollar amount lost.
FBI says one reason why is the sheer size of Los Angeles. It's also a cheap crime to pull off. Profiles are easy to set up, and scammers can reach thousands of people fairly quickly. Unfortunately, though, the FBI sees a large percentage of elderly victims.
Oftentimes the elderly population, especially recent widows or widowers or divorcees, want to get back out there, get in the dating world.
Innocenti says these criminals frequently operate individually or sometimes as a part of an organized crime network, building trust over long periods of time before money is ever even discussed.
The point in time when they get these individuals on the hook, they may think that they're engaged to this person or even married, I've seen.
So here's some romantic advice from the FBI to help you avoid being scammed. Try to get the person you've been chatting with to meet you in a public place. If that's not feasible, they suggest trying a video call. And if they dodge you there...
If you think something's too good to be true, it probably is.
The FBI advises if you are the victim of a romance scam, you should definitely report it, and you should contact your bank immediately. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Not sure what to get that someone special for Valentine's Day? We've got just a thing, and it's priceless.
And something else that's fairly priceless, our upcoming forecast unfortunately includes a big temperature drop. We're going to talk about all of that coming up. Welcome back to KOAM News at Noon. We have had a very rainy, soggy day across the area. For some of us, that's about to wrap up, but some of us others may see some additional shower and thunderstorm activity. Looking pretty dark out there from our camera at 7th and Range Line as this rain activity slowly starts to make its way on off to the east. So you can see trying to get a little clearing going back behind this. Taking a look at the MoDOT camera at 20th and Range Line, roads are still wet, rain still falling in some cases. In fact, the Skywatch Storm Tracker, which we'll show you in a minute, will confirm where the rain is. We talked about this earlier. We have a low-end risk for some strong to low-grade severe thunderstorms across southeast Kansas later today. These have not really changed since this morning. The threat is low, but it's not zero. So it's something that you want to keep an eye on. It's something we're keeping an eye on here. We're not anticipating anything significant, but just keep your eyes to KOAM as we go through the next 2 or 3 hours. So here's the main batch of all of this making its way out of here, allowing for clearing across southeast Kansas, which is part of why we could see some redevelopment a little later today. And this is the area that we'll be watching for that potential redevelopment as we head into the next couple of hours. As mentioned, several forecast offices cover our area, so we have wind advisories, southeast Kansas through 6, Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and southwest Missouri through 3 tomorrow morning, and for northeast Oklahoma, they run through midnight because it's going to be, well, you guessed it, pretty darn breezy. Here's what we've picked up in terms of rainfall across the area. On the average, about ½ an inch, but some of us have made it up there to about 1 to 2 inches of much needed rain. We're still dealing with the winds. They're gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour, and they will continue to do so even after the rain clears out. This is getting into late this evening. The winds will finally start to calm down as we get into late tonight and into the overnight hours, and then we have the potential for a gusty day ahead of us on Wednesday. So right now, Joplin still at 50, reporting rain. Feels like 50, but that breeze south-southeast at 16, gusting to 23, and I think we've been picking up some higher gusts because we've heard them here, and they've been rattling those cameras out there as well. 50 in Pittsburgh, 47 Iola, 54 Chanute, Parsons, 52 in Miami, 48 Neosho, 49 Carthage. So see where the warming is already taking place as the rain lets up in parts of southeast Kansas as well. Additional rain on top of what we've already seen shouldn't add up to too much. We're talking at most maybe another 1/10 of an inch. We could get a little heavier rainfall out in southeast Kansas should we see those thunderstorms develop. So let's talk about the timing on that. Here in the next couple hours, by about 3 o'clock or so the next 3 hours roughly, we start to see the additional development taking place around the Fredonia, Howard area, and that will develop quickly along this line from Yates Center, Chanute to Parsons, and it will move very quickly off to the northeast. By 4, it's already to Fort Scott and Garnett, and then by 5 or 6 o'clock, it is out of here. So real quick, what we're going through the rest of today, still looking at highs in the mid-50s, still breezy, those storm chances possible in southeast Kansas. Tonight, we're going to drop back down to a low of 41. We will be clear, and the winds will eventually calm down for us. Looking over the next several days, we're up to 67 tomorrow before we see that 40-degree temperature drop. Down to 26 Wednesday night, some light showers along and south of I-44, and then maybe some light snow Thursday morning for our northwestern counties. We're cool Friday and Saturday, and then as we head into next week, temperatures finally begin to rebound once again. So we make it up to 64 next Monday with some more rain chances in the forecast. So it's going to get cold tomorrow night, and it's going to be cold for a couple of days, and then we'll start to rebound a little bit.
That high tomorrow, can we expect it in the afternoon, or is it going to be different because of the drop in temperatures?
It's actually going to be in the afternoon. The temperature drop isn't expected until much later in the evening. So we'll actually even be into the 40s and 50s as we get closer to 10, 11 o'clock at night. But once this cold front starts to work through, those temperatures will fall quickly.
All right, be prepared. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, stick around. If you need a last-minute Valentine's idea for dinner, we're making Hearty cheese biscuits in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Add a little extra love to your dinner date tonight. Howard shows us how to make Hearty cheese biscuits in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
It's Valentine's Day, and besides all the chocolate and flowers, The best way to a man's heart, or really anyone's, is through their stomach. So I figured I'd share a recipe for our homemade cheese biscuits. If these don't make them fall in love with you, what will? We start off by mixing together some flour, shredded cheddar cheese, a bit of sugar, and some salt. Now we cut in some vegetable shortening using a pastry cutter, or you could use 2 forks. And if you're not familiar with this, what it does is it creates almost a crumbly mixture that will make our biscuits nice and flaky. We add some buttermilk to this. And when the dough comes together, we knead it for a bit before rolling it out. Since it's Valentine's Day, I'm using a heart-shaped cutter, but you can use a biscuit cutter or even a drinking glass. After these get baked, which takes just a few minutes, the whole house smells warm and inviting. And when that special someone takes their first bite, they'll fall in love with how flaky and tasty they are. The recipe for our Hearty cheese biscuits is online now. Believe me, when you bake something homemade for Valentine's Day, there's nothing better. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a loving way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
We can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
We're still watching the possibility of some strong to possibly low-grade severe thunderstorms across southeast Kansas. It looks like they may get initiated about 3 o'clock, something we'll keep an eye on. And of course, if anything does come up, we will let you know. Otherwise, still heading for highs in the mid-50s. Rain will clear out. Wind will die down late tonight, up to 67 tomorrow. That 40-degree drop, light showers turning into some light snow in our northwestern counties. And we start to warm up, though, as we head back into next week.
All right, what do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, it's thought to be as dangerous for your health as obesity or substance abuse. In Health Watch, the science behind loneliness and how social connections are actually critical for survival. Plus, we're going to meet a Southeast Kansas couple celebrating 60-plus years of marriage, and a stadium in Carthage is deemed unsafe, leaving the Tigers baseball program without a place to play ball. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.